Hey everybody, welcome. I am just getting this all set up on all of our platforms, YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to be automating this soon, so it won't be so cumbersome, but let's just get on everything. It's going to be on our Beyond Limits group. So if you aren't on that, and that's a cool way to get a lot of free healing stuff. So miracles, magic, and coffee, and special announcement in just a bit. So look for that. It's going to be very cool because a lot of people have been telling me that they really need money. And so I have a way to do some things in spirit. Well, that's not it. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to, I wonder, no, we'll just do it this way. So miracles. But I'm going to tell you all about that in a little bit. Special announcement. Okay, so this should be on both things. Right now, there's been so much stuff changing in Facebook. So many of my friends are in what's called Facebook jail. Can you imagine that? And it's just because they've been sharing a lot of information on some topics that are getting them censored. So we want to be aware of that, and we want to do good, and I just want to help everybody with their healing. But sometimes it's been pushing some people's buttons. So we'll see how this goes today. I'll put that right there. And Tom should be joining us really soon. So first, the special announcement. First, I want to show you my shirt. So this is our homeschooling shirt, the Haven House Homeschool, home of the Lemur, Chew, Peregrine pig snakes. So all the kids got to pick their animals. So there's peregrine falcons and snakes and pigs and lemurs from Madagascar, snakes, might be something else in there. And I love the design. It was made by our friend Maddie, who's a up and coming artist. So check that out. And I think it's pretty cool. So there's that. And yeah, and so then a special announcement. So I've been talking with a lot of our people in our groups, and these are interesting times, right? I mean, I've got a friend who has to work 4 hours away from home in order to have a job. And then we've had other friends that couldn't work because of the lockdown. And I know some things are starting to open up now, which is kind of quite interesting that all of a sudden, that happens just instantly around current events. But who knows what that's all about. But a lot of people are talking about money, and just, we're so blessed that we have a way to do our healing work with people online. And I help all sorts of people now to crush imposter syndrome and anxiety, all the entrepreneurs. And it's been wonderful to help those people. And of course, we still help the people with the autoimmune conditions and the health challenges. So I'd love to hear what you're dealing with. Just let us know what help you would like, because we just got off a great podcast with my friend Kate Kavanaugh, the End Anxiety and Depression, End Anxiety and Depression, End Anxiety and Depression Forever. That's a Facebook group, and we do a group session every Wednesday at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and we did a big healing session. So you can watch that as a replay. Go to that link, the End Anxiety and Depression Forever Facebook group, and you can just watch it and notice what's different for you. See how your body feels, see how your world is, see how your life is, see how your money is. Just let us know what's different, because we literally learned it from a business coach first, although now we've seen it from all sorts of other people. Oh, I think Tom is in. So let me just move Tom on over. Promote to panelist. So let us know what you need, and we're going to see. I'll keep an eye on the Facebook, and let me know what we can help you with. Hey, Tom.
I'm having to apologize. I have to leave the Zoom session right now.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't get a hold. So have a great one, and I'll see you next week. Okay.
Okay, man. I'll give you our Lemur True. That's our homeschool thing. So have a good
Cool.
one. Maybe that helps. Good to see you, man.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, you guys. So it's us. So yeah. So I'm gonna go on our Facebook group. You can go to Beyond Limits with Ralph Havens and check that out. And let me just pull that up. And message me and let me know what you want for healing. And we're gonna do a big healing for people right now. I feel like just it's time. Things are kind of in a rough spot for so many people. Let's just go to so if you can go to Beyond Limits with Ralph Havens, it's a Facebook group, and share it. Click like, click share it, so that more people see this, because we're going to do a session right now. So let's just, I'm going to post this in my regular profile and just see who wants to join us. And whether you're watching live or whether you're watching later, you can have a healing session. So we'll be doing that in just a minute. Okay. Be on my Facebook group. Special healing. Like your own healing. On over. Okay, I think that's going to be good. Let's put a picture on there. No, just do it like this. There we go. Okay, so here we go. Let's just see. Great, thank you, Kate, for that. Yeah, so we had a great session with Kate Kavanaugh, and if you don't know her, you should go look her up, Kavanaugh. And she's in our Katie and I are doing an End Anxiety and Depression Forever breakthrough session thing every Wednesday. So look for that in that group. And today we talked about people's emotions and how to navigate through difficult times and difficult emotions. And what can we do today for you guys? Let me just tune in and see what it feels like. Yeah. Yeah. I think let me tune in. Let's see. So yeah, let me know what you would like. One thing that that I noticed is there's times in our lives when it gets really weird. And sometimes it's a pattern that seems to be repeating from the past, and even stuff that you thought you had worked on before. And years ago, I oh good, Manuel. Let me go put him in there. Yeah, awesome. So we got somebody. Yay! A lot of times people watch later, and so it's awesome to get Manuel in right now. Yeah, let me just go type that in. So sometimes there's patterns that we're like perplexed with, like why do certain things happen over and over again? And one thing that happened for myself, who knows why we do certain things and why life goes a certain way. Years ago, a friend got me, some friends got me an astrology reading from a really well-respected high-level astrologer. And I was living in San Diego, and he said, if you want to work on your family stuff, this line, I don't know what it was, some astrological line, goes straight through the Pacific Northwest, like literally right through where I'm sitting right now. And And I thought, well, that's funny. It's like, I've always wanted to live in the Northwest. I want to live by trees. I want to live where I can run. And let me just make sure this is working. And so, so that was that. And then for years, I kept wanting to live in the Northwest. I don't know totally why. I remember once when I was in Del Rio, Texas, growing up, I wanted to, I don't know why that's not showing up as a video. Let me see if I can share this again. Sorry about this. Let me just get this right, because I think Manuel wants to be on. Yeah, hang out with me for just a minute. Sorry about this. Here we go. Let's share this again in Beyond Limits. Okay. Yeah, usually we have Dr. Tom on, but he had to get away for some probably a patient kind of thing. So years ago, I remember heading out to our land. We had some land in Del Rio, Texas, and you can also watch us on Beyond Limits with Ralph Havens, the YouTube show. So I'll keep both those up, YouTube and Facebook, just to see what shows up. And anyway, so I used to drive my little motorcycle out from town into to our land, and we were building a house. And it was going to also be a clinic for my mom. She had gotten her PhD in psycholinguistics, actually, University of Wisconsin-Madison, big school. And we were back in Del Rio, and they had this dream to have a healing clinic in Del Rio, Texas, where people would come all from all over the world, and children would be healed of their speech problems. And so, and we had it in a certain way. And my parents my dad especially used to talk about how we'd have all of our friends over, and it would be just so much fun, and we'd be rich and all sorts of stuff. And they were using money because my uncle Carlos had died, and unexpectedly in a car wreck. He was in the Navy. And so my grandparents had inherited a bunch of money from the life insurance. And so my grandparents graciously had given my dad and my mom money to do what they wanted. They wanted them just to buy a house and just like have a good life in Del Rio, Texas. But they didn't. They decided to like go for this big giant project and spend a lot of money. And short story of that is they didn't plan it very well, and they ran out of the money. And they, in today's dollars, it would have been around $350,000, I think. But they just ran out of the money, and then the storms came over the next year or two and blew it down. And my dad just blamed everybody except for himself, and he was the one guy that whose fault it really was, because he didn't plan it right. He didn't use the money wisely, and he tried to make it bigger than it needed to be. And we never got a roof on it. And then of course the weather took it over, West Texas. And so that happened. And I saw so much just disappointment and despair and failure. And he also had a lot of emphysema, and he smoked a lot, but he was an Air Force, he worked in the Air Force. He wasn't in the Air Force, but he was civilian working in the fire department. And he had some sort of injury there, and his lungs got hurt even more. And so he got disability. So then there he was sitting in the house smoking a lot of cigarettes, and blaming everybody, including my grandparents, who had given him a bunch of money. And it was just terrible. I would sit in these rooms, and he would be smoking, and he was mad at everything. And we were always seeming to work on projects, but never getting anything done. So I somehow decided I'm just leaving, and I just waited it out. And when I left high school, I went to Texas A&M, and I went back a couple times after that, but pretty much didn't go back. And I wanted a different life. So I got to be a physical therapist, and I moved out to San Diego with my girlfriend at the time, who also was a physical therapist, went to school with me. And we were doing a pretty good thing. And I started my own practice a few years in, and it was starting to go, but then we broke up, and my practice grew, and went through some ups and downs. But I learned the art and the science and the business of having a physical therapy practice in San Diego, and had 5 physical therapists working for me, and a PR and marketing person, an office manager, a billing person, the therapist. It was great. We had students coming from all over the country, visiting therapists and all sorts of stuff. And but through that whole process, I ended up having a problem. And part of the problem was I got sick and I got bone pain and I couldn't figure it out. And it took me 2 years of not being able to run. And I figured out that it was fluoride that had been put in the water. And so San Diego was one of the last big cities that didn't have fluoride in the water. Well, in February of 2011, they put it in. And by May of 2011, I started having significant bone problems and pain and depression and kidney problems and GI problems and liver problems. And doctors and practitioners were saying, man, I don't know what it is, but you might be dying, you better make sure you don't have cancer. And so I was trying to figure it out, and Ben was about to be born, our first boy. And luckily I somehow had a little ding from God that said, check fluoride. And so I looked it up in the scientific literature, and it's all over the scientific literature that fluoride is very toxic to nerves, to bones, to brains, to IQ in kids, causes bone pain, causes depression, and hardens the pineal gland. It's where your intuition, your sense of connection to spirit is. And so it was used by Hitler and Stalin to control the people. And here it was being put in our water. So we got filters and got the fluoride out of the water, and then luckily found a remedy. So email me if you want the remedy for that. But we found the remedy to detox it. And within 3 days, after 2 years of not being able to run, within 3 days, I was back to running. And it led me to think, you know what, we're going to shut this whole physical therapy thing down. We're not going to live in San Diego. The scientific research shows a 600% chance increase in bone cancer in little boys if they grew up in an area with fluoride. And if you know, fluoride's in most of the big cities in the United States. Although there is a lawsuit now that should be coming to an end now. It looks like it's getting out of the water. And even the Journal of American Medical Association is saying, yeah, the science is really clear. It lowers IQ in children. It's really toxic. It's on par with lead, with what it does to children's IQ. Yet it's been put in the water and approved and recommended by the EPA and said it was totally safe for many, many years, when the science has been really clear for a long time. And finally, the editors of the Journal of American Medical Association are saying, yeah, this is not good. We need this out of the water. And it looks like it's coming out. But in the meantime, we decided, let's look and see where we want to live. So of course I picked the Pacific Northwest because I always wanted to live there. And we saw Vancouver, BC doesn't fluoridate. Bellingham had just voted no on it. Eugene, Portland, Ashland, Bend, Oregon, all these places in the Northwest didn't fluoridate. So we shut everything down, got a tent, sold my Audi, sold Jen's Toyota Matrix, bought a truck, four-wheel drive truck, threw the tent in the back. We bought a tent, threw the tent in the back, got our camping gear, bought camping gear, and hit the road. And from June of 2013 until Halloween weekend of 2013, we were on the road looking for where to live. And so we ended up in Bellingham. And then we moved out by the mountain. We thought, let's get clean water from the ground, a well. Let's just live simple, and let's do some energy work, some healing work, Matrix Energetics, help people heal a little bit online, a little bit in person. Mostly we'll grow food and build earthen houses. And it's just gonna just, I had gotten my life back, my health back. I wasn't dying, I was running. I was very grateful. Let's just live like that. And here's the part that's interesting that I think can help us today is we started getting sick. We, all of us, me, Jen, and Ben, started to get like autoimmune kind of symptoms. I was still able to run, but we couldn't figure it out. Didn't take long. Ben was the one that found it. And just won't tell you all the details of that, but we found out our house was really toxic. So we ended up, we had to sleep first in the garage, and then that didn't work because it was still felt toxic. And then we slept in our tent outside in the Pacific Northwest for a year, me and Jen and our little boy who had just turned 2. And just turned 2, let's see, 2014. Yeah, just turned 2 or so, about to turn 3. And so there we were. And what Jen told me was, you got to get happy, man. And it was hard to be happy, I got to tell you, because I had had a good life in San Diego. My clinic was bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I was living in an upscale part of town in a beautiful old craftsman house that was done up really nice, had a beautiful 7-minute walk to work to a place looking out over Mission Hills in San Diego. My office had therapists. We were doing good work, thought of well in the community, and we had lost all of that, and we were living in a tent outside in the Pacific Northwest, and nobody really knew us. And so it led me into a world called coaching, and I found people that had figured stuff out. And even though I'd been a healer for many years, I found more ways to heal this deep inner stuff, like that astrologer had said, the stuff, the family stuff, because I had seen failure in my life as a kid. I'd seen devastation. I had seen mental illness, and I haven't even talked about the mental illness that I saw that developed in my mom, and I would say my dad too. But I saw a lot of failure. So it was modeled for me. And when we have beliefs that come in about how the world works, it's hard to let go of those beliefs because it's part of who we are, we think. And we'd have to let go of a lot of stuff, maybe even some of our family. And so, but I started to learn all this stuff. And like Katie Kavanaugh and I talked about this morning in the End Anxiety and Depression Forever podcast, you look at that it's a group in Facebook. We both of us found this way to go inside and clear that stuff. And so what I'd like to do is see if anybody's on live. I'm going to go back on Facebook and look. And if you're watching later, or if you're not going to comment, what you can do is just think to yourself, if something were to be done for you today, and this is the way Richard Bartlett used to talk in Matrix Energetics classes, if something were to be done for you today, what might that be? And then let that go. And when you think of what everything that's been going on in your life and what you'd like, and if something were to be done for you today, what might that be? One thing I invite you to do right now is to just stop and just to go inside your own body and just to be still without any agenda. And just to notice. Just to notice. And I'm going to do a healing session for us all right now. And what you can do, if you like, afterwards, notice what you notice. Another thing that Richard Bartlett used to say, I think it was from some other training too. It felt like he's the first person to say that. And you can notice what's different. So if something were to be done for you today, what might that be? And I'm going to put Katie and Chris here as our surrogates. A lot of times we work on one person and it helps a lot of people. So that's what we're doing right now for you. If something were to be done for you today, what might that be? And I'm going to do what I do. I invite you to just be still and put your attention inside your body and notice what you notice. one thing that's really cool that's showing up for your session right now, and you are in a session if you're watching, is that once you make a decision, it's like it's really powerful. A decision is really powerful, and a decision that that kind of keeps you stuck with a certain belief system. That's interesting, you know. But if there's a decision that would be useful for you right now, what might that be? And put your attention inside your body if you like, and notice what you notice. Yeah, you know, in 2009, I was in summer school, which was 3 classes back to back to back, 9 days of class in Hartford, Connecticut, with Sharon Giammatteo and Tom Giammatteo, and probably about 150, 200 other people. And it was on, one of the things was the autoimmune class. Another one was on what's called plate therapy, and I can't remember what the other one was. It might have been cranial base. And then the very next weekend when I came back was my very first matrix energetics class. And so we're going to install what would be useful for you module now. And now we're going to just tap into this, and you might notice this. In fact, it's kind of cool if you want to notice my hand. That's right. And notice what's happening in your body. And notice my hand. And let me know what you notice. And so what I invite you to do is to walk around and retest how you feel, like test your neck, test your body, see how your body moves, check your arms, you know, move around, see how you feel, and let us know what you notice that's different. And share this if you like, if it's useful for you, and let me know what you need. And so what we're doing is Katie Kavanaugh and I are doing a process every Wednesday at 8 o'clock Pacific time. And then every Wednesday at 10:15 Pacific time, I'm meeting usually with Dr. Tom Giammatteo and talking about healing techniques and methods and ways of integrative manual therapy. And so if you like this sort of thing, if you want help with your healing, if you want help clearing anxiety and depression, and you want to connect to spirit and see things change in your world that would be useful for you, then, and your family, then go ahead and subscribe to our Beyond Limits channel on YouTube, Beyond Limits with Ralph Havens. Subscribe to our Beyond Limits group, and the End Anxiety and Depression Forever Facebook group. Basically, you can find us, and we're here to help. And if you want our help, just let me know. So I'm so appreciative that you're here. So glad you're here. let's heal yourself and heal the world. And we're here every week. Join us when you're ready. Let me know how you're doing. All right, you guys. I will see you all